Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful day with us on Live with Lloyd. I am your host, astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn. Thank you for joining us here at the Live with Lloyd family. As you see, I have a very beautiful guest on, Miss Rochelle Jones, who is a mental health consultant. There are a lot of issues with mental health, and so I just want to place a little emphasis on that today. And so there's a lot of things that we're going to be talking about today. In the meantime, hold up. Let me do this. Okay. Okay. There we go. All righty. There we go. Hi, everybody. All righty. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday. All righty. It is July is almost a wrap. It just seems incredible. We started not too long ago. But anyway, before I bring my guests on, let me tell you about the sponsors, which is Riza Islam's intellectualpowers.net. Please, when you order or when you place your order, there's a code, put in the code numbers, and you will receive a discount, a 10% discount. Also, Nicholas Brooklyn, I'm going to be having her on in August. I don't think she knows it yet, but she will be on to talk about 50 years in business, but it's located at 1396 Fulton Street. In fact, Hank Risingson and I will be there this coming Sunday. I think it's from 2 to 7, something like that, but we will be there this Sunday at Nicholas Brooklyn. That's 1396 Fulton Street. Of course, King Simon, my buddy, he is having a salute or ancestral tribute, I should say, to Baba De Gregory on Sunday, October 13th. The tickets are on sale now. This is why, if you're saying, why am I doing so months in advance? That's because we want to make sure you have no excuse not to have the tickets in your possession. Also, Manifest on Purpose with Miss Kimberly that airs every Monday and Wednesday in the morning. Okay, so please take advantage of this. And before I bring on my distinguished guest, I want to let you know that today, by the way, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, above that, you'll see that I or Live with Lloyd will never DM you for money. I understand since I got into this game that there are a lot of people that don't have nothing else better to do. Instead of trying to create their own situation, they would rather piggyback off people like myself and others. And I find I'm not the only one. That's just unfortunate that these people, I guess, anyway, regardless, unless you receive first of all, I don't send out no DMs. So as soon as you get it, that should be a red flag. Please share with your friends. I don't operate like that at all. But now, today is Wednesday, it's the 24th of 2024. The sun is in Leo. The moon is in Cancer. It's a 6 universal month, a 1 universal week, a 3 universal day. And one day I'm going to explain how I'm arriving at all these conclusions at the beginning of my show. So if you are a Sagittarius or Pisces, this is your day. Or if you're born on the 3rd, the 12th, the 21st, or the 30th of any month. So anyway, people have been asking me about Kamala Harris. I said something briefly for the August forecast, not making any predictions, but it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And maybe next week or whatever, I'll get into it since, I mean, I've got calls everywhere from even out of the country asking about this. I've tried to get out of the game of presidential predictions. I've done it. I've done pretty good in the past too. But in the meantime, it's a lot of challenges. But in the meantime, I'd like to bring on my distinguished guest, Rochelle Jones. Rochelle, how are you, young lady? Ho, 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 ho.
Having me.
I had the mic off. Thank you very much.
Okay. Y'all missed all that beautiful things I was saying. Hello, Lloyd. Thank you so very much for having me. I consider this a blessing and an honor to be on this platform and this cast with you. You have been a friend in my head, and I've read all your books.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have a question. You are a mental health consultant. What led you into this in the first place? In fact, for people who give an idea, not only does she have her own service, but this is here as she appears on Psychology Today. So if you go on Psychology Today and type in her name, Rochelle Moore Jones, She is a professional in every sense of the word. So what I'm saying is, so anytime you've got a major magazine like Psychology Today, they've been around for decades, to include Rochelle. Obviously, you're doing something. What led you down this journey about mental health? And it seems like really such a serious concern.
Well, I'm so glad you asked, because I think my story, I'm going to give you the short version because I kind of like to talk.
Okay,
Um, I
feel
grew
free.
up in a small town in eastern North Carolina, Morehead City. I'm a member of a wonderful family. But growing up, I felt like my family could have benefited from a little bit of mental health therapy. And sometimes things were hard and they didn't have to be. Um, so they really motivated me. There were some hurts and some sadness and some trauma that my family, my mom and her brothers and things could have processed and maybe had a real different kind of outcome. So I was inspired very young with both of my businesses to pursue mental health therapy. It's so very important. And I tell people I teach them skills and tools for them to live their very best life. When I was in the 10th grade, I wrote in my journal that I wanted to be a mental health therapist. I wanted to be a child and adolescent psychotherapist in private practice. And
Even then,
when I was in the 10th grade, yes, in the 10th grade, I knew I wanted to be a therapist. And I'm just very blessed and fortunate to have known what I wanted, what my destiny was, what one of my callings is. I knew very early on, and that is I plotted that path out, and I'm here now. And I've been successful at being a therapist. I worked in the school system in Charlotte for over 20 years, and during my day job. And now I work in employee assistance during this leg of the journey. But during the last 15 years of my life, I've also had a private practice where I see people virtually since COVID. And I teach them skills and tools to live their very best life. I also do coaching because everybody needs something, but everybody doesn't need the same thing. So to have therapy, you have to have a diagnosable diagnosis per the DSM-5. And that part is covered by insurance. But that's not what everybody's dealing with. But everybody could benefit from some coaching to go from good to great, to reach their highest level.
well, question: what is the magic about therapy in the first place? I've heard people say, maybe you should go to therapy, and it's not just mental health, but all kinds of variations of therapy. But the one thing too is the word I hear a lot is trauma. So as a professional, what does trauma mean? So people have an understanding.
Trauma is kind of broadly defined, because what is a trauma for you might not be a trauma for me. So trauma is self-defined, but honestly, it's when something unexpected happens, something that is typically painful, something that puts you out of sorts, and you have to find your way. Oftentimes, even as grown adults, we deal with childhood trauma. We respond to things. We behave in a way to protect ourselves. In relationships, sometimes if you were, say, an abandoned little brown-eyed guy or girl, you choose to date and love men or women who don't value you, and that you have to run down behind. And somewhere in your mind, you feel like if I can make him or her love me, I will win. But some of that comes from childhood trauma. Even the way we raise our children, the outlook we have on the world, how we see ourselves. And therapy helps you process these things. Because sometimes traumas happen even before we have words, and we hold those traumas like in our bodies, in our cells, because they're trapped. And once you process it, even something that is scary or super dirty, if you take it and shake it out and freshen it up, you can move forward. So my goal is to help people not be trapped by their traumas.
Question: let's say a child gets a spanking. I got spankers, but I deserve mine though. Okay. So when you get a spanking, is that a form of a trauma?
Well, first of all, there's like what the book says, and then there's like life. I got spankings too. My kids have probably gotten maybe 1 or 2 spankings in life. My
Well,
thing
I beat
is,
you on that score though. Go ahead.
See, yeah, I don't think a spanking is trauma
Yeah,
or
I
even
mean,
abuse. But like if somebody's beating you unconscious, if someone's beating you bloody, oh, that's trauma all day long.
okay, got you, got you.
That's
Okay,
trauma. But even our words, um, sometimes people will have videos of people doing really ugly things, but like cussing at a kid and calling them names and bullying them and saying real hateful things
I've
to
seen that.
young
I've
children
seen that.
who are powerless can be tapes that are that are recorded in their heart that they will play over throughout their lifetime. Well, I'm never going to be ish because my mama said I wasn't ish. I'm no good like my damned old daddy. Things like that they will hear over and over and say over and over to themselves.
That's interesting because I had a client, an attractive young lady, but her father told her she would never find a man.
Mm-hmm.
And she never had been successful moving forward in her adulthood with relationship. Does those kind of things have that much effect on us?
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, first of all, in so many different doctrines in the Bible, life and death's in the power of the tongue. The Lord spoke and he created. These things that you can do the same things I did and even greater things. So words are like spells. And also to the vibration and the energy of the words that we say, they create. Words have creative power. So when you bathe your children in words like that, those seeds reproduce. And what happens is, even though your mama is done talking or saying whatever she's saying or whatever they're saying, those tapes still play in your head. That's why it's important to use words of uplift and not words of demise. And also, if someone spoke to you in an ugly way, to take some time and process that, because you don't want that to stick to you. But absolutely, when my kids were little, I would tell them on their way to school, today's going to be an amazing day. Great things are going to happen to you today. So when you go to school, pay close attention. And when you come home, we're going to sit down at a dinner table and we're going to talk about the amazing things that happened. So I'm like priming the
Interesting.
pump to see
Interesting.
amazing stuff. I'm telling them that good stuff is going to happen to them and they're looking for it. And if something
That's
comes
their
that's not
expectation as a result.
exactly, exactly. And see, their minds are very open. But my point is, you're going to find what you're looking for. If you go to a new city and you think the people are mean, they will be. If you think they're kind, they will be. Yeah.
That seems so incredibly simple, Rochelle. Or should I call you Dr. Jones?
I'm not Dr. Jones, just Rochelle Jones.
Okay, Rochelle. Um, I think that's very interesting because, first of all, I live in New York City, a very, very crowded, millions of people on one little 24-mile island. And, but there are so many people that you see that is obviously need counseling, need to be in a hospital or some kind of medical services or attention. I was told decades ago that anytime you see a woman in the street, that is not a good sign for the nation. Now it's like all over the place.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
and now they're saying now that more women are, or in your opinion, who seems to be more medicated or who have a need for medication? Supposedly I heard some says that, well, women are taking more medication than ever before, or men. What has been your experience about that?
Well, that's a really interesting question because it's a very nuanced question. Who's taking more medicine? I probably would say women because women make more appointments. We make appointments for the family. We get them to the doctor. Married men live longer because they have women that are saying, did you take your pill, Buster? Eat this broccoli. I made this appointment. So we kind of run that sort of thing. So I would say women, but it's not just
Interesting.
about medication because a lot of people self-medicate. A lot of people will take alcohol, drugs, sleeping
Ah,
pills. I
ah,
I had a client, well, the boyfriend of my client, I was doing an assessment and I was asking him about, are there times when you hear or see things that other people don't hear and see? And he was like, yeah, but I mean, the kid is who, you're kind of the mama's boyfriend, but he kept talking. And the reality is what he did is he worked really, 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 really hard. And when it was time to go to bed, he'd take sleeping pills so he could go to sleep because he was plagued by these voices. And that was his way of managing. So could he benefit from some medicine? Yes. But sometimes people don't like the way it makes them feel. But everything is not about medicine. Like sometimes our lifestyles make us crazy. They make us anxious. They make us depressed. The way we live and move in the world contributes to our mental illness. I'm doing a whole talk on how the food we eat contributes to our mental illness. This hyper processed food with all these dyes and preservatives, that it's not real food. You see how they'll have this fast food for years and it doesn't decay. It not only affects your waistline, it affects your brain and how you feel about the world. We are very far away from the earth. We wear rubber shoes. We don't touch the ground. The kids hardly even get 15 minutes outside to play. All of that contributes to anxiety, depression, mental illness, the way we live. Everybody's in their own little boxes. Growing up, I lived with my grandma, my mama, and my sister. My next door neighbor was my nanny, my great grandma and granddaddy. The other side neighbor was my great aunt Minnie, and beside her was my cousins, the Hopkins, with their 5 kids. So we always had each other. But nowadays, that's not how we live.
It's not about family at all.
Exactly. But it contributes to your lack of mental health.
I'm so sorry. What did you say? I will talk to you. My apologies.
No, I was just saying that there are lots of things that contribute to the decline of mental health. That how we live, how we're not as in close relationship with our family, with our friends, how we're far away from the earth. We don't sit on the ground or walk barefooted. I watched a whole movie on grounding and how important it is to do that, and how it affects your body, how it changes you and heals you. The food, the toxins in the air, the toxins even in our beauty products. That is part of why I decided to start a beauty brand, is because I was not interested in having those toxins. I saw that movie, They Cloned Tyrone. Now,
really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And if you read, there's like antifreeze and all kind of things in food that's not food. But all that stuff affects your mental health, your waistline, your mood. You scan Doritos and it's got things in it that affect the hormone system in your body that contributes to like ADHD and all kinds of like Crohn's and autoimmune kind of problems.
And then we're not even talking about the saturation of us leaving our children in front of tablets and cell phones and computers and all day.
First of all, the what it does to their mind. My kids went to Montessori school, thank you, Lord. Because Montessori believes in experiential learning. Like they don't want your kids to play with tablets, see TVs at all. You experience life. The fact that their brain, the creativity, when you watch a tablet, it's just giving you information, as opposed to when you're playing, you're creating the whole scenario. Like if you ever see a child play with like a little airplane or a truck, they're zooming around, but they're making up the story as opposed to sitting passively and a story being told to them. And oftentimes, even if you look at children's shows, it's not the values that you would teach. It's not the values you would teach.
That's interesting. Let me ask you this. Normally there is a, shall we say, for lack of a better way of describing it, kind of a stigma or being embarrassed if people knew that you wanted to seek counsel. How do you deal with that? You know good and well you need to seek counsel.
There is a stigma related to see mental health counselors. And I think sometimes people are like, I am not crazy. And then I'm just speaking for Black people because I'm Black. We have a mistrust. Some people have a mistrust of healthcare and healthcare establishment because of Tuskegee, because of all the ways that Black bodies were misused. There's a stigma. I mean, we learn more and more about Mrs. Lax and how her sales went all around the world without her permission. My father was even a part of a medical experiment that they did to people's bodies without permission. So yeah, I can totally understand why some people are hesitant, but that's why I think it's important for people that look like me to be therapists. And I've had men, and I would say African-American men are the least likely to come, and they're the most likely person who needs to be there. But once they come and sit down, they realize that I'm only here to be of service. I am not going to hurt them or say anything mean to them or talk down to them. it's amazing to me to see men come and they be very like, ugh, and then they love me and be so excited they came and so happy that that
In
they're
other
here.
words, you're not passing judgment on them.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And what I do is, especially like with couples, it's like I can help them communicate what they're saying to their wife and help their wife communicate with their husband. I'm like, okay, I know he said it like that, but what he really meant is that he loves you and he's only trying to protect you. Okay, that's what he means. And he's like, yeah, that's right. That's what I mean. What she said. And it's so funny because it's like I'm the couple whisperer where I can kind of decipher what this one is saying. I can do that with people, period. I had a family session today and I was like, why do you think parents go through phones? What do you think their intention is? What do you think their intention is? And it's like, everybody knows, hey, she's only trying to protect me. They know. But it's kind of like you want to try it. You really want to try it before
on the
you
reverse side of that equation, do you help a man understand what the wife or the lady's trying to say?
I can help them both interpret what is being said. Because what happens is sometimes people say it again.
What is the common misunderstanding then that's not conveyed? That the man is trying to say somebody really means this to the woman, and the woman says this to the man, but she really means this. And
well, it's like, for instance, like like sometimes a man will be just wanting to protect and take care of his family, right? Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. She's like, I feel oppressed. Like everywhere I go, he's like, ask me where I'm going and what I'm doing. When maybe what he's really saying is, I love you and I want to make sure you're good. It's not that I'm trying to hold you down or keep you down. I just want to make sure you're taken care of. Or so many things. Like sometimes a man may speak really gruff, but you're gruff because you're upset. And another thing, sometimes men, particularly Black men, can be happy mad. There's a whole lot of other emotions in there. But when you're a little boy, you say, listen, stop all that crying. Hush that noise up. You don't give them the time and the space to even feel their feelings. So they stuff them way down. So things come out, look like anger, but it might not be anger. It may be fear. It may be frustration. It may be sadness. It may be rejection. But it's not very manly to say, well, when you go spend time with your girlfriends and you don't spend time with me, I feel rejected. Men oftentimes will not say that.
No, that's true. We do roll totally different. And yet women will say they want to see us kind of show the vulnerable side. But as soon as we show it, it's like we kick to the curb. But here's the reverse to me.
You got to find the right woman.
when a guy says, well, she's nagging me, how do you interpret that for the man that she's not really nagging? She's just trying to convey something. Just like you said.
What she's saying is, I love you. I love you. Like, say you're nagging because he won't go to the doctor. What you're really saying is, I love you. I adore you. You are my big, strong, big daddy. We got these kids, this house, this mortgage, and you promised to be with me for this life. I feel scared when you don't take care of your body. I feel scared when you don't go to the doctor. So I keep on and keep on and keep on and keep on. That's what she's saying.
Okay, so it actually is like a different language that we need to learn.
Yeah, or maybe just somebody to help you see behind the veil. Because what happens is, we all need some help. You don't know it all. Like when my car had a little slug, when I pushed the button, it was kind of sluggish to start. I'm not a mechanic. I had to call Kevin and say, Kevin, my car is doing this. What's going on with this? And we have problems doing that. Like if your son, your little superstar is playing AAU basketball, you'll get all kind of coaches and special shoes that he can't wear anywhere else. You got to carry him in the bag and wear your slides to the stadium, to the basketball place, because you don't want to mess up these shoes. We understand the value of that. We understand the value of a coach. For basketball, for football, for track, but to not have a therapist or a coach to help you with your life, you get one life. Your baby, if he never plays professional sports, which is kind of unlikely, so what? But you've got this one life to manage, and managing relationships and hearing and having help with communication is important because it contributes to your, and the other thing is we talk about children and loving children. The best thing you could do to love a child is to love their mama or to love their daddy and give them a safe, protected home.
Okay, what do you mean? I'm hearing the words, but I want to make sure that our viewers understand. When you say love your child is to love your dad, love your mom, what do you mean?
Well, we focus on children. And I mean, I have kids, I have 2 sons. They're wonderful. I love them. However, sometimes we have a lot of instruction on how to be a good mother and how to take care of kids and how to be a good father. But how much instruction do we have on how to choose a good husband, how to be a good wife, how to work cooperatively so we can have a stable home for our kids?
So it's not just having a baby or making a baby. That's what you're saying.
I think the first thing is choosing who to even give your phone number to. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll say, there's a value system. I told my son, I said, okay, recognize, are you comfortable at her parents' house? Because if you're not comfortable there, know that your children are going to grow up there. Okay. So if you're not comfortable at her house, then maybe this isn't somebody you need to date. Because looking at a bigger picture, because my husband, there was a first day. I had a first interaction with him. I had a first conversation with him. But are our value systems aligned?
Mm-hmm.
That's important. How you choose money. Oh gosh. We could have a whole nother session on money. You marry somebody, they love to spend, you trying to save every dollar you ever had. Sir, ma'am, you needed to look at that before you got married. You needed to look at how they spend and use money in their relationship to money. Yeah, that could be a big deal breaker, but that's something you got to assess really, really well. What their family dynamics is like, how they treat their mom, how do they behave when they're angry.
Seems like we don't look at those things.
We need to, because guess what?
And maybe that's why the divorce rates are so high.
That, or maybe just unhappiness in relationships.
How much of a salary they're making, how tall they are, how fine she is. And that's just surface stuff.
Yeah. And education too. I'll hear women say, well, you know what, I have a doctorate degree and I want a husband who has a doctorate degree or a master's degree. And I'm like, sis, really? Like, my thing is this. What is the percentage of African-American men who are doctors? Not that you can't have one, but if that is your deal breaker, you're looking for a needle in a mountain. It is unlikely. And to discount all the wonderful men who didn't go to college, all the wonderful men who love their families, who take care of them, and you're equating a sheepskin on the wall to being a good husband, it's misguided. You got to look at the heart of a person.
Iyanla Vanzant, it was about 2 or 3 months ago when she was interviewed by this lady, and Iyanla asked her, well, would you marry a bus driver? And the woman says, well, only if he owned the bus company. And I think she missed the point.
Yeah, that woman probably sleeping alone right now. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah.
So in other words, we're missing a lot of good men, beautiful women, because of preconceived perceptions and expectations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my thing is this. I mean, iron sharpens iron. Maybe that bus driver, if he were your man and you all working together, y'all can own the company. But maybe the synergy of having and building and working collaboratively with a person. The point is, hopefully we're greater together. So me, my husband, we're great, but together we're super great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the intention. But the judgmental, missing the point. There's a lot of wonderful guys who never went to college who make great husbands and fathers.
If given the opportunity. If given the opportunity.
Yes. And I've known people who are doctors and lawyers and attorneys who are just as broke because they have bad money management. They spend every dollar they have. I remember I was on a date one time, and when we used to have answer machines that you could hear out loud, it was like a tape.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, we're talking or whatever, and I keep hearing it come on. I keep hearing it. This is Sears. This is somebody else. And then he finally got up and turned it off. And I was like, wow, okay. Wow. I mean, so it was in the back of my head. We went grocery shopping and they wouldn't even take his check. Wouldn't take his check. And the thing is, he was like, oh, I'm going to be an attorney. And as soon as I'm an attorney, I'm going to pay all that stuff off. Well, he wasn't, he came from a prominent family. You know, his family were doctors and lawyers. You see, he had a really misguided relationship with money and a real big discard for money. And in my mind, I thought, I don't know about this now. Like, this is, I know I'm only like a junior in college, but this feels like this is going to be a problem across time. So there are lots of people who are degreed, who are bright and shiny, who are very unhappy and maybe a little bit broke.
Yeah.
Because it's overspending, overdoing.
Yeah, I think that for somebody who we just meet, we have these great expectations, not really kind of starting at the ground floor, so to speak.
True. And sometimes we get really impressed. Like I saw this thing about, I went to this conference last week and they were talking about family groups, right? And how the correlation between ethnic groups who have high marriage rates and high net worth. So Indians, like 98% marriage rate, they have the most net worth in the United States. Asians, like 80% marriage rates, second highest net worth. White people, like 72% marriage rate, third highest net income. Hispanics, in the 60s, marriage rate, fourth highest net income. Black people, high 50s marriage rate, fifth largest as far as net income. The correlation, and not that everybody got to be married, but we might want to rethink and have some partners out here in this world, because loneliness is a real thing. Being old and being lonely is a real thing. And also pooling resources together. So whether it's you and your sister or you and your kid, you know what I mean? Like as we grow older, we may want to think more about the living closer, even family communes and family homes where you have a house and everybody kind of has their own space in the house, but it's still one space. It makes it more affordable and you're less likely to be depressed because you're around other people.
What about people that don't realize that if they live long enough up the road as they get older, they're going to need somebody? But when a person, especially when they're vibrant and at their best, the men, the women, and they don't think they need anybody, and eventually, if you live long enough, seem like you would.
Let me say something. We all, people need people. The thing is, part of why people, for instance, with COVID, depression rates went through the roof. And it was because we had to live in this space all by ourselves. Like, think about single people. You're at home in this house all alone. Many of us did not have to go out to work. Loneliness, you know, loneliness. We need people. We're not eagles that just fly alone. We're communal people. So I think as housing rates go up, as inflation goes up, we may find that we do need to live together. And I mean, like, whether it be your family members. I grew up in a house with my mom, my sister, and my grandma. So we had 3 generations right there. And it was really, really good because I grew up very, very close to her.
You, as a result of what you do, developed a line of products and services. Can you talk about that?
You know what? My husband would say, Rochelle, because I have so many loves. Well, since you asked. Like I said, I'm a little brown-eyed girl from Morehead City, and one of the inspirations behind my brand, Street Botanicals, is that I'm vegan. I try to live a healthy lifestyle. I don't like pesticides and things. And as I've done research to find out the pesticides in our food and in our water and in our healthcare products, and I mentioned they clone Tyrone, it is overwhelming. My best friend likes to smell really nice and perfume, and I would be like, oh my God, I feel like you sprayed that in my mouth. It just overwhelmed, head hurting. So I created products just for myself. I was like, oh no, I can do that. Oh, that costs how much? I can make that. So I started making things, and I would share them with my friends and my neighbors. And they were like, Rochelle, you need to make a company. You need to make a business. You need to do this. And I was like, you think people would buy it? And they were like, yes. So on the foot, listen
And
to
you
this.
now do have an LLC.
I do. And in last month in June, on the full moon night, it was an 8-day. I established my company, Bay Street Botanicals. And I was like, this is a perfect day. It's an 8-day. It's a full moon. It's a day after the summer solstice. So I started Bay Street Botanicals, which is a line of beauty and skincare, healthcare products that are free of pesticides and chemicals. They're all organic. They're all natural. Fragrances are very light. For instance, like if I am making some hair cream with rosemary in it, it smells like rosemary. Or even if I do put a fragrance in something, it's a light fragrance and it's an essential oil. So it's not something that's going to overwhelm you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, can we talk about some of the products and how can people get them?
Well, like I said, I have a brand new company.
Yes.
And I'm super excited to be here, but my company is 1 month old. So
you got to start somewhere.
All
right. It's got to start somewhere, right?
Absolutely. But guess what? All these great listeners, y'all can be here on day one. Day one, you can be here with Bay Street Botanicals. Now, on the banner is my contact information for Facebook and for Instagram. And you can reach me there. Also,
hold on, let me put this banner up right now. So we got this straight.
So you can send me a DM with your name and your email address, and you will be the very first ones to be able to have these wonderful products in your home. And I'm a mental health therapist, but part of taking care of others is taking care of yourself. And sometimes we neglect that. We're so busy doing the most, we've neglected taking care of ourselves. Now, everybody doesn't have money to go to the Atlantic beach and lay out for 2 or 3 days or go to the south of France, but everybody can do some self-care, can take a minute to have some warm tea. Now, I'm going to show you my first product, which is Serenity Smoke and Sip. Now, I know you're like, are you suggesting that we smoke? Yes.
Hold. Let me put this on you. Let me take the banner off a second.
Okay.
So people can see the product. Okay, now let's see what you got. Show us what you got so far. 1 month.
Now, this is what I have so far, and this is called Serenity Sip and Smoke. Now, you can open this up and make a tea, or you can smoke it. It has wonderful ingredients. One that's called mullein, and mullein is an herb that is really good for your lungs. It helps your lungs. So it's got mullein and rose and wonderful things that help you relax. Mullein, darviana, peppermint, and the cone is rose. You know how some people wrap things in like hemp. This is an actual rose that this is wrapped in. But this is a really, really good product to kind of help you calm your nerves and just chill out. And you can pass a drug test because everybody wants to be employed. So this doesn't have any hemp or CBD or any of that stuff in there.
Interesting.
So that is one of my products. This is another product. Now this is relaxation oil. Sometimes we get stressed and overwhelmed, and this has essential oils in it to help you calm down. If you're feeling stressed, you can rub some of this on your temples or rub it on your wrist and take a little deep breath. It's aromatherapy. So it goes hand in hand with therapy and taking good care of yourself. Then I have this soothing bath soak. Get in the and it's got flowers in it. It smells amazing. It's got lavender in it. And you can put this in your tub and relax, light a candle, and woosa. Go. You know how in the old days, those of y'all who are over 45, you remember Calgon, Take Me Away? There you go. Now,
Wow.
foot soak. Your feet are so very important. I talked about grounding and putting your feet on the earth. After you put your feet on the earth, you can use some foot reviving healing foot soak. And this has, you see, it has actual flowers in it. I grow those flowers in my yard. Most of the herbs I use, I grow because I love flowers. And this
Interesting.
has peppermint and calendula and Epsom salt. And I have a mask. And I have this mask in powder form because when you get it to your house, you can determine if you want to mix it with water, if you want to mix it with vinegar, if you want to mix it with yogurt, because all those things do something different. But this pulls the toxins right out of your skin. And that's important. And even these other soaks, they have clay in them to pull toxins out of your body. And then last
Question.
but not least
Go ahead.
is
Mhm.
my
Hold on.
comfort healing salve. Now this right here is made from comfrey. Comfrey in World War I is called a bone mender. If you got shot in the field, they would take the plant and stuff it in the hole, and it would heal your body. This has been known to heal bones, but it also works topically. Like if you get bit by an ant or a mosquito or something, when I'm gardening, sometimes the mosquitoes get me and I come right in and I put a little on me, goes right away. So these are my first products. I'll have more, but these are my number one babies. And
Now,
you
how can they
can
get them? How can they get them?
they can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram, and they will be the first people allowed in my Shopify store, which will be up in about 3 days. So there's my information.
Now, that salve that you talked about, that seems interesting. Can you explain that again?
Comfrey is a weed for most people. Most people would see it and think, oh gosh, that's a weed. However, it's a really good medicinal plant that has a very long taproot. It has so many uses. If you took the leaves and put it in some water and let it sit, it would make fertilizer for your plants. But
Hmm.
comfrey is known as a bone mender. So even if you had like a broken bone, you could put that on there and it would mend it even faster. This is a medicine that our ancestors used a long time ago, long before Western medicine. Now, you would never put this on an open wound or not on your lips. It's not to be taken internally, and it's not to be used on a like an open wound. You'd want it to scab over, not something that was open. But this right here, and it's great for like arthritis and any kind of like joint pain. My auntie, we were at a funeral and she's like, Rochelle, help me, walk with me to the bathroom. So I took her little arm and we went to the bathroom, and I was like, I said, is your foot hurting? And she's like, yes, it's my ankle. And I said, I have something for you. So I gave her some of this wonderful salve, and she's like, Rochelle, it is so amazing. I didn't even have to wear my brace to church. And I was like, oh, all righty, auntie. So
Amen on that one. Okay.
amen on that one. And you don't have to worry about like the ingredients. Literally, I should have had that in here for you. I take the comfrey, the dried comfrey, and I fill the jar up with olive oil, and I let it sit for about 3 months. I shake it up every day to let it infuse. And then I take it and I strain it out, and I take that infused oil and mix it with beeswax and a little bit of vitamin E and make this wonderful salve. So it's minimal ingredients, but it works really, really well.
Now, the three red sticks in the bag, what is those again?
This is Serenity Smoke. See, it's a cone. You smoke it, you light it, you smoke it, and
Uh-huh.
it is very relaxing. Now I know people think, oh my gosh, is that marijuana? Is that some drugs? No, these
Yeah,
are
you know
all
how people be thinking.
mullein, passion flower, darviana, mugwort, peppermint, lemon balm, and rose petals. So these are all things. Oftentimes, native cultures use smoke in ceremonies,
Yes, they
and
do. Yes, they
yeah,
do.
yeah. So it's really good, and it cleanses. I had my mentor had COVID really, really bad, and she didn't have any lung problems, but after COVID, she coughing and inhalers and all this stuff. She got some mullein and started smoking it. And she said from the very first puff, she's like, I could feel my lungs opening. And she said the mullein is what really helped her open up and get her lungs together and get over the long haul effects of COVID. And it is kind of like, I think sometimes we're afraid of stuff, or we look at it kind of funny because we're so far removed from natural medicine, when natural medicine is what got us most of the way. I mean, the reality is the Rockefellers, once they bought chemical companies and figured out that you can make medicine out of petroleum, they demonized bush medicine and herbal medicine.
Yes, I understand that. Yes,
Yeah.
I was told that.
Yes. And that's part of why we're having to relearn that some of these things that grow in our grass are some really wonderful things that we need to be eating, dandelions and things like that. You know, you spray all that Roundup on them and kill them. Well, you're poisoning your soil. Dandelions are delicious. My son was having some problems with his stomach, and I was like, you need to diversify your biome. You need to eat some different stuff. He said, like dandelions? I said, yes. He said, Mommy, do you want me to eat some food from off the ground? I was like, dude, all our food comes from the ground. All of it. Where do you think food
Yeah, he
comes
don't have a
from?
clue. No, it comes from a delivery truck. That's where it comes from.
You know, I was like, sir, yes. I was like, you pull this dandelion, you rinse it off, and you chew it up. And like, my neighbor does not put chemicals on his yard, and he's been there for a couple of years. So you'll see me in the morning over there pulling his dandelions, and I'll take them and I'll make a tincture out of them with alcohol, and I'll make an oil infusion with oil, and sometimes I just pop them in a salad.
I think that's amazing. You know, they've got it thinking that you really can't live without meat. And in fact, what they're
You
doing
do need to live without meat, because that meat don't.
well, you know, it's interesting. If you look at polar bears and these big gorillas and all that stuff, they don't eat a single piece of flesh.
They
None.
sure don't. And they're strong and they're healthy. Absolutely. And it's like but it's the brainwashing. It's like, okay, mama's milk. If you nursed your baby, you gave them your milk, right? But if I said to my son, oh, I've got some of this, I found some milk in the freezer. You want? Oh my gosh, no. However, you'll drink a cow's milk. You'll drink a cow's milk and drink it down and think that's wonderful. When I'm like, I'm your real mother. Like, what are you saying? But it's propaganda. It's what we've been taught to believe.
Well, it seems to be a good job. And in fact, I was understanding only maybe 3 or 4 corporations have control over 90% of the food we buy in supermarkets.
And that's really concerning. And when you start making GMO foods and foods that don't have seeds, it could be a problem, because how do you own life? How is that okay for you to own life? So it's something to really think about. That's why I love my garden. I save the seeds. I absolutely love it, because you don't ever know. I like to know where my food is coming from.
Here's my thing too. On the back of a lot of these labels now, they will talk about genetically modified ingredients. What is that?
You know how like you go to daycare and you see a like the kitchen set, and it's got all the plastic food in it. Yeah, that's what that.
Yeah.
I mean, I like my food the way God made it personally. Like it's worked for me this far. But what happens is when you can genetically modify it, you can own it. So like, this is yours. So you can't, it doesn't have seeds that can grow. You have to keep coming back to me. And oftentimes our bodies are not designed. Our bodies don't recognize this. What is this? And it causes inflammation and problems in our body. And then we have to go buy medicine to feel better, because the food is making us sick and we don't even know it.
But it really doesn't make you feel better. It's just a temporary Band-Aid.
No.
And the side effects, there are more downsides to most of the medications we take than upsides.
And the thing is, if we drank more water, ate healthier food, turned off the media, got proper sleep, we would need less of that kind of stuff. Because what happens is all these things harm our bodies. The blue light on this phone, it's addictive. And I'm telling you, nobody loves social media more than me. I am so amazed how YouTube knows just what I love. It's like my heart be beating fast. I'm like, Ooh, I don't know which one to look at for first. I mean, because all my favorite people are there. 19 Keys, EYL, somebody making some salve, somebody with a farm and some herbs. They're always there because they know what I like.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the whole algorithm. That's what
That's
all
the
that's about.
algorithm. Yeah.
I have
And
a
then the blue light keeps you from sleeping. So you stay up later and later looking at it, looking at it.
this person asked an interesting question, Rochelle. This Rhonda Anthony. Rochelle, what drove you to clean living? How did you get started?
Well, hey, cousin Rhonda. How I got started? Well, quite honestly, my mother died when I was 19.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really, really hard. She had lung cancer and she smoked for many, many years. And I was like, oh Lord, that, that kind of rides with you. I got married, I had 2 sons. I want to be here until I'm satisfied. I had a really dear friend whose husband got colon cancer, and he was healthy and strong and ate well and exercised and drank water. And it really took me for a loop. And I was like, I've got to take care of my body. So I started doing research. What causes that? How does a young person get colon cancer? Why is all this stuff happening? And my research led me to see that it's the food. It's the food. It's the processed food. It's the dyes. It's the colors. And about 9 years ago, I went vegan for a week. Thought I'd starve to death. Then I went vegetarian because I was like, okay, I can eat some of this cheese and I can make this work. I went to my family reunion and I paid all this money for the family reunion, like back in 16. And then there was nothing there I could eat. So I went full bacon. And then that November of 16, I was like, Rochelle, get your life. And I went vegan with a big can of crab meat in my refrigerator. So, y'all, I meant that thing. A whole can of crab meat. Left it right in there. And I hadn't turned back. Now, I'll say I'm mostly vegan because my Aunt Ruthie, shout out to Aunt Ruthie, I love her. She makes the most amazing cakes. So sometimes I will eat some of Aunt Ruthie's cakes. And she'll be like, Rochelle, there's some eggs in there. And I'm like, Look, I didn't even ask all that. So I would say I'm definitely mostly vegan because, Aunt Ruthie, I got mad love for you and I'm going to eat that cake. But this is the way I've chosen to live my life. And I feel amazing. People say, well, how do you feel? I think the most profound thing is light of spirit. And that's the thing.
There's a difference.
Really
There's definitely a difference. There's definitely a difference.
Because energy can't be created or destroyed. It only changes forms. So if the energy can't be created or destroyed, you walking around with that struggle meat. You got that energy on you. And animals in the United States are treated horrible. Now, if I lived overseas, I might consider eating some of that meat because they treat animals different. It's different. But the way we treat animals is horrible. And if you saw it, I saw What the Health. Duplin County, I'm from Carteret County. Shout out to Morehead City. But Duplin County is one county over. And to see how they treat the animals, how they take the waste and spray it in the air, and all those poor Black people who can't afford to sell their houses that look just like my grandma and my nanny and them, that thing hurt me to my heart. And I was like, you know what? Smithfield, you won't get another one of my dollars. Not that I eat. Now, my family, they eat everything. But me, no, not at all. Because I was like, I'm not a part of this. I'm not gonna participate. And then when we talk about cows and how much water it takes to make like hamburgers, it's not sustainable. We're gonna all be vegan before it's over because there's just not gonna be enough water to sustain. I read somewhere that it takes the water you spend in 2 months of showers is how much water it takes to make a pound of beef.
Really?
Yes, that's what I read. And my thing is, we can't sustain that. I mean, only like 1% of the water is fresh water for us to drink. The rest of it is salt water. That is a lot of vegetation. You can grow a whole lot of beans and rice and feed a whole lot of vegans for what they're doing there.
Question. I saw something not too long ago. It was kind of like a news piece where the lady was interviewing the gentleman. They were in a factory kind of like with tanks, a lot of steel tanks, and they were actually growing chicken in the tank.
I saw that, and let me tell you something.
He said that it tastes like chicken.
If you eat that Frankenstein meat, You're crazy. There's no way in the world I would eat that. And the thing is, even for my family, I buy meat that I met the farmer. He shows me the videos of the chickens outside. That is crazy, y'all. And the thing is, this is already in the food supply, and the federal government says they don't even have to tell you that it's genetically modified. Like they don't have to say that they grew this meat in a tank.
Yeah, but what's the point?
Because it's cheap and people love their meat. And this is what I'll say, and this is just my opinion. This is my opinion.
And you're entitled to your opinion.
That meat they know is bad for your body. So when it causes arthritis and inflammation and cancer and high blood, they can sell you the medicine. And I mean, can you imagine how rich you are when you make the poison and the medicine and call it food?
It's a win-win.
Yes. And I mean, and let's not even talk about dairy and how these organizations that are supposed to keep us safe, they make rules that say for school, for free lunch, you have to have dairy in for breakfast, for snack, for lunch. There's always dairy. You can't even offer these children any other thing to drink besides milk. You can't even talk about it in the cafeteria. To have a full lunch, they have to have a milk. If you are black or brown, if you're brown, like 2% of brown people are lactose intolerant. That stuff causes inflammation and asthma and allergies and eczema. Yeah.
You know, I have to agree with Cheryl Lee here where she says overseas countries don't allow that. For example, I saw a box, I think it was like a box of cereal, and they compare what they sell here in this country and what they ship overseas. Well, maybe the first 10 ingredients was the same, but after that, when they start getting the color red dye number 10 and yellow dye number 4 and all this other stuff, it was absent. Why can't that be done here?
It can be, because like Nabisco it'll be the same product. Like I went to Dubai and I had all kind of snacks and treats and stuff that I bought because I know that it's different. When I was in Dubai and I got McDonald's fries, oil, potatoes, salt, 3 ingredients. McDonald's fries here have like 30 ingredients. They fry those fries in beef fat and put all kind of preservatives in them. Other countries don't allow this foolishness, and they don't import our meat or our milk. They don't import.
Well, that's exactly what this person is saying. Overseas countries don't allow the meat products in their country.
Yeah, and honestly, if I lived overseas, I would consider eating some meat. But no, I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't eat it here. But I've had friends. My friends would say they go to Europe and they eat all kind of pasta and bread, and they eat all this terrible stuff, and they feel great and they lose weight. Because, and even like the wheat, we've tampered with it and genetically modified it so you can get 3 harvests of wheat in one season, as opposed to the 2 that you would normally get. But that food is different, and you see spikes of people with celiac and all kinds of other health concerns that we didn't used to have. When you look at ADHD and food allergies, over the last like 20 years, gone through the roof. But it's because of all the drama they put in our food.
Now, this person in the UK says they live there and they treat animals bad there too. And they raise and keep baby cows in small containers. That's weird.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't fool with them. I mean, and people say, well, milk is not bad. Yeah, it is. They're forcibly impregnating this cow. And then when the baby is born, they take the baby and put it just out of the reach, and they let it cry until it dies, because when the other mama cows hear the baby cry, they make more milk. And cows, they have intelligence. Like they are in social groups. You see videos of India where the baby cow is sick, and they'll take them to the vet, and that mama will run right behind the truck, go to the vet, and stay there until they let her baby out, and then she'll run back home.
You know what's interesting? I was in India, and they treat cows with respect.
Absolutely.
Okay? Seriously.
Yeah. But we love our dogs.
People America and go to India, they would be great.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, we think about, what was his name? Was it Michael Vick that had to go to jail behind fighting the dogs?
Yeah, dog fights, yeah.
Yeah, but guess what? A pig is as smart as your 3-year-old. It's like we want to pick and choose what animals to love. And dogs, they're fine. But guess what? To me, a pig or a cow is just as precious.
Brent Hopkins says the movie Netflix you were referring to is called What the Health. outstanding movie that illustrates the injustices of the food industry.
It
Thanks
changed
so
my
much
life.
for that, Brent.
That's my cousin. Hey, cousin. It totally
Well,
changed my
everybody
life.
needs to go and see this Netflix special, please.
Absolutely.
I don't watch TV that much, but when it comes to health, which I love because we only got one go around.
Exactly. And the thing is, you want to feel well. Think about all the aches and pains and arthritis and plantar fasciitis and all these itises and things. It's from our food. And it is like they make money on both hands. They make money by making horrible food, and then they make money by selling us medicine to cure the horrible food.
And it's not really a cure.
No, because it's not a cure. It's like something you need to take every day forever, is what it is.
That's what I was told,
Imagine how
especially
much
Black
money.
people are on high blood pressure. Well, you got to take it. Once you on it, you got to take it every day. That's not true. There are alternatives, and one of them is a change of diet.
You know what? I in my church one time I did a speech on mental health, right? And we had all the different disciplines. It was like a health day at church, and everybody got up and they said there's peace. Well, I went last, and we had like dermatology, cardiology, like like maybe 10 different disciplines, and I went last. But you know what the common denominator was? Diet, exercise. What you eat affects all your skin, your hair, your diabetes, and how you move your body. And I was like, y'all, if we can eat good and exercise and get some proper sleep, we're golden. That's what everybody said in their speech. But you know what? It's easier to go through McDonald's and get a burger. People can't have a meal without having a soda.
The sodas are the worst.
And then how they market to children, like if you look at the stuff in children's, it's like you want to get them to be addicts. And I saw this thing about how Microsoft and Pepsi-Cola signed an agreement where they can put nanoparticles in
I heard that.
soda.
I heard about that.
And y'all, if we're hearing about it, they've been done put them nanoparticles in your soda. Yeah.
Now, here's another one. They says they don't do frozen foods and they shop every day for fresh meats in Germany and Hungary. So every day. So obviously, once you're out of this country, actually you're better health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then when you look at the blue zones, which are the zones around the country where people live to be the oldest, all of those people, like in Okinawa, they have their own gardens. Like everybody has a little garden and some herbs in the yard. Everybody. The fresh food. And even if you're not going to be vegan, because I'm not telling everybody to be vegan, everybody has to make their own choices. But I would say is, y'all, we all could eat more vegetables. You lean in. If you're eating chicken and mashed potatoes and collard greens, eat a double portion of collard greens. Every day, eat a piece. My son, when he was 7 years old, bought a peach tree that he saved his allowance for 3 weeks. And he talked to the lady at the farmer's market because it cost $25, but he only had 21, but he was young and cute and he really wanted it. And she said, I will sell it to you for $21. And he counted out his little $21 and we planted that peach tree. Now, my son, KJ, is 22 years old. And that peach tree in this moment has probably 150 peaches on it. No pesticides, no nothing. And every year I'm like, Rochelle, you need to do a better job of fertilizing this tree. But no artificial anything. Now, wasn't that a great investment?
I'd say so. I'd say so. And one person says here, is being a vegan harmful to any specific blood type, which is an interesting question.
You got to watch the propaganda. I would say no, because how is eating? First of all, there's a lot of doing research for yourself is really important, because what happens is there are people who demonize herbs, vegetables, because what they're trying to do is to get you to eat this bad food so they can sell you this metformin.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we don't have teeth to be eating meat. Animals that eat meat have meat-eating teeth, like tigers that they sit down and bite the animal and eat it. You don't have no teeth like that. That our digestive system, good and long. Like you look at animals who eat plants and animals who eat meat, and we're different. Our teeth are flat. You see how these are? These are plant eating teeth. So I would
That's
say no.
interesting.
And if you're concerned not getting enough vitamins and things, take a multivitamin. My thing is, people always ask, Rochelle, how do you get your protein? Come here. Every living thing has protein. Where does a cow get protein? From the grass. Cows don't eat meat. I get my
They
protein
certainly don't. And
from
those cows are heavy too.
Oh yeah. But my point is the cows get the protein from the grass, and that's where I get mine, from my collard greens and my broccoli and cauliflower. So that's not required. Just like drinking milk to make the body good and strong bones. No, ma'am. Bok choy has plenty of calcium in it. Oh, moringa. Moringa is my new babe. It's a tree, and it's called a miracle. It's called a miracle plant because you can eat the leaves, the bark, the roots, the seeds, and it's wonderful for your body. It's got more iron than liver. It's got more calcium than milk. It's a wonderful fruit, a wonderful thing to eat. Whether you eat the powder or the seeds, you can eat it all. And see, things like that is what we need to incorporate in our diet because it's super nutritional and very low calorie.
Listen, I didn't know we was going to stay this long. I thought we was just going to do 30 minutes, okay?
I told you I like to talk. See, people that know me know I like to talk. And we talking about my favorite things.
You know, let me say this. How I met this beautiful sister is one day she called me for a session. And that's how it all started. And I'll often, sometimes, a lot of times I won't, but then something told me to ask her, well, what does she do? And she said mental health. And mental health is a serious crisis in this country.
It certainly is.
And a lot of it has an indirect relationship, I think, to the either traditional diet or the lack of traditional diets. That is those things that are very, very important. And, you know, I just think it's interesting that when it comes to the African-American community, for us to be a so-called minority, we're the majority when it comes to high blood pressure, diabetes, heart attacks, cancers, all the negatives, we rate the highest.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
And that should say something.
Yeah,
and we need to really think about that. We really need to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not believe the lies, you know, because people will say, well, it's expensive to eat vegan.
Oh, did you see a medical bill? Okay.
Thank you. And you know, it's expensive not feeling well, calling in sick, having migraines, headaches, having health problems and mental problems, because all of that contributes. And my thing is, you eat low. You don't go to the market and buy all the fake vegan meat. You buy the collard greens, the cabbage, the kale. A bag of beans, lentils is about $3. You can eat that for about 3 years. Good Lord. I mean, them dried beans, you cook them like your grandma did. Soak them out and cook them. Oh my gosh. A pound of beans makes a pot of beans that you're not going to eat in 2 weeks. So, but let's not talk about, like we talk about money and how much it costs. We the same people that buy more luxury cars than any other person. And I already told you we are fifth in line for net worth.
And so not only that,
we can buy Cadillac, we can't buy
clothes, everything, expensive shoes, everything.
Well, it's the marketing, guys. It's like to feel important. I've known people, I used to work at school, right? They would come in on the first day and be like, can I get some help for Christmas? It's August. How you planning on not having money at Christmas? But your kid you may live in a hotel and your kid have on $200 shoes. Make that sense to me. And it's because the programming that I have to look good and have these nice things to feel important. When I would rather, instead of having a $2,000 Gucci bag, I'd rather have a trash bag with $2,000 in it.
I said the same thing before.
I mean, good Lord, if I took that $2,000 and 18 months ago, my baby boy bought $144 of NVIDIA. And today, even though NVIDIA is down, it's still up like 600%. But he could have bought some sneakers with that $144. But I bet you he's glad he didn't.
No, I'm glad he's got the right mama and father. Okay, that's what it is. Listen, Rochelle, I'm gonna have to. I went over time, but this was just amazing. And yes, we spun off a thing, but the whole emphasis was on mental health. But there's also, as you can see, a direct and indirect correlation to our diet.
Yes.
There. You cannot get around this.
Yes.
And to live in pain. And you know, for people that make all the ton of money, they get sick, they give it all back to the medical.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, somebody said that a rich man has many wishes, but a sick man has one.
That's health, I guess.
Yeah, it's health. And a sick man would give up all his wealth just to be well.
Well, Steve Jobs of Apple said that your kid, knowing what he knows, that he would teach his kids to love as against chasing after profit. There was a couple of things he said, but of course he had to be near the end of his life to finally see that it's not about the bottom line.
No, because you can't take it with you. And if you're hurting and sick, you can't even enjoy it. You can't enjoy the splendor. But we have the power. But this is what I want to say. We have the power in our hands, guys. Mental health is tied to everything. What you eat, how you move, who you love, how you spend your time, your mindset, what you think. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Speak life. Speak life in all times and all places. Even if it's something you struggle with, even if you're late all the time, you can decide to do it differently. When you say, I've decided, that's a lot of power. And the power is truly in your hands. We don't have to be as sick as we are and as broke as we are and all these things. We control our own destiny.
Amen. Rochelle, I'd say your husband is a lucky guy. Okay.
I'm a lucky girl. If you knew my husband, you would know.
Well, listen, just the whole attitude, but I think that's what you call a win-win, raising two beautiful boys where one has the sense to grow a peach tree with hundreds of peaches on it, and the other is investing in a stock that seems to be doing well despite some of the stock market falling lately. Absolutely. But I think it's interesting, but it says a lot about you, but it says a lot about what we can do and how much we've lost in the direction of how we need to do things nowadays. Yeah. And it is about family. Okay. Yes. Rochelle, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I might have Kevin on to talk about what does he do? You know what I'm saying? Other than keep an eye on you.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for having me. It has been my pleasure, my honor, my dream. I'm going to mark it out of my dream book, my manifestation book. I'm going to check that right off. But thank you so much, Lloyd.
And please tell all your cousins and relatives that chime in. I says, aha, thank you. All right.
I love them. Thank you.
A lot of support. Yeah, I would too. All right. So everybody, thank you. As you see, that was fantastic. And again, all my guests are amazing. By the way, please, we said everything, but please send a Cash App to $ I am Delta, $ I am Delta. By the way, you should go to her base, Street Botanical, on Facebook. You should see what she's done. Also, for those of you too, she's also appeared on, let me take the banner off a second so they can see. She appeared on Psychology Now, okay, Psychology Today. And so for those, so he tells you she got all the background, all the credentials and whatnot. And I like the way she articulates what is important for our health. So family, please, please, I beg of you to take care of yourself, because I always say, if you don't, the question is, who will? So I do want to thank Ms. Kimberly for Manifest on Purpose for sponsoring the show, King Simon, also Monique of Nicholas, Brooklyn. I'll be out there this Sunday with Hank Rosin's son, my buddy. We both 7, so we hang like that. And of course, Dr. Rizza Islam. He's not a doctor, but he might as well been with his brilliant self. But when you order the product, please put the code number so you can get your discount, okay? And for those of you, I do want to thank you. By the way, I got to let you know, July is almost over, but July is still here. So if you want the free newsletter, It doesn't cost a penny. And no, we do not sell your name. We just don't do that. Okay. I'm more concerned about a better relationship than about a bottom line. And so if you don't want to read it, you can hear the forecast on YouTube. Okay. And Miss Kimberly and I, who sponsors the show, we do a joint thing. She's hundreds and hundreds of miles away, but we do this every month. It started out as something just one because of curiosity, and it has grown. So it's actually enhanced my newsletter. So I thank her for that. And for those of you who've downloaded my app, it's getting better and better. And if you like it, please put 5 stars, okay? So, and if there's any questions, just simply email me at a star 8 llc at gmail, a star 8 llc at gmail. I'll pass it on to my developers. Now I do understand why there are updates with Microsoft, or even the big dogs have updates. I now understand that, having that appreciation. So again, I thank everybody who orders it. And that's it. Everybody have a great weekend. I have a lineup of some interesting guests next week. And to Rochelle Moore Jones, this was fantastic. I enjoyed that. I hope you did too. Okay. So everybody, y'all have a blessed day. Please take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend. And people have been pressing me about what this election thing and assassination and all that stuff. I don't know what's up with that, but maybe I will talk about it, but only from the point of something I found very interesting about any presidents that have been assassinated or attempted to assassinate. They all have one thing in common. Every single one of them was an air sign. So I'll explain that in more details at some other point. But in the meantime, have a great evening. Have a great weekend. See you next week.